Hey, Dustin Tibbits here, financial advisor with Jazz Wealth, and we're talking about building up an emergency fund here again. We had a client ask us this question. By the way, if you're one of our clients and you want me to do this for you and put this out here for the world to judge your finances, you could do that. Now, I'm not airing dirty laundry or anything. We don't actually track that here. No big brother BS. We're actually just trying to help as wealth managers. Not just retirement. We've got to help with wealth overall. So here we go. This is our DOE score. This is how we track our clients' financial snapshot in today's life. Like, what does it look like? What goals do you want to achieve? And what are we working with here? So brief overview, retirement, he's on track. He's basically where he needs to be at this very moment. Debt to income, a little bit high, not the big deal, not really that big of a deal because it's all on the mortgage, 3.65%. Hello, right? Not a big deal. No credit cards, no issues there. Savings rate's a little bit low. And what I gather from looking at this, look how easy this is for us to realize there was something that happened to this client where he had to draw from his liquidity. Medical event, job loss, I don't know what it is. We can tell that he's inching back towards maybe a more stable financial life that he previously had. Married filing jointly, so it could have been they had a baby and the wife took some time off, or he took some time off. Who knows? He's not being very efficient with his dollars. We'll come back to that in a second. And right now, he's got 3.4 months worth of total liquidity that would allow him to survive, meet his expenses. And this is a goal of his. He wants to regrow the emergency fund. So we're not talking retirement. We're not doing all this other stuff. We need a plan to get him to regrow his emergency fund. What are we going to do? All right. The first thing that we look at is his savings rate, right, is to his 401k. Putting quite a bit of money in there. I'm going to go back to the client, and the first thing I'm going to say is, how nervous are you that you need to tap into your emergency fund? And like I said, I highly suspect that this person just went through some kind of an emergency, or what they would determine an emergency, and they're probably going to feel a little bit more emotional about that than the average person. If the client first says, I'm actually very nervous about that, I want to have 6 months of emergency funds, I need to be back at that place. Okay. The first thing we're going to talk about, I know this is not the best advice ever, right? Just hear me out for a second. The client is potentially emotional about having liquidity to survive 6 months or a year, whatever. I can come over here and I can see that they have $510,000 in real estate. They owe $348 on it. Could we open up a line of credit against the house? Okay? I'm not saying it's the best advice, but I happen to think that you borrow when you can, not when you have to, because it's always more expensive when you borrow when you have to, right? So we don't even have to use the line of credit, and it probably costs them $200 to set it up, if that. Maybe if it's a credit union, they'll just do that digital appraisal and it's done. All right, fine. We now would be able to satisfy his liquidity of having over 6 months. We hope we don't need it, but that's something we can turn on right away. He's got a job. Everything is fine right now. Try to get a line of credit when you don't have a job, right? So it's you're going to get a no. So that's step one. I go, you might do that just to help you sleep at night. It is not what we want to use. Of course, we don't want to have to pay that kind of money for that. And we don't want to put our house on the line for an emergency. All right. Next, we look at the fact that he is burning through a lot of his money on a monthly basis, right? So he's spending, and when a client puts a number like that, 6946, they got a budget. They know the money they're spending. They may not be happy about it, putting a kid through private school or something. There's some extra expense there. And then we have about 17% of our money going towards debt. So we can't necessarily tell the client to put more money towards the emergency fund. There is some money there, but that's a tough one. We don't want them spending every dollar. So what I would do is I'd come over here and go, I know, let me go back a step. You're on track for retirement. Where you are supposed to be and where you are is 98% of where you're supposed to be. You're doing great. That's actually fine. So I would go back and go, if it doesn't cause too much of a tax issue, why don't we scale back your 401k contributions? Clearly, he is saving more than the match, if there is a match, and so we can afford to back that down. Also, if I go to his tax rate, he's at $161,000 in taxable income, and he's like in the middle, right? So the top of the bracket's 201, the bottom is 94,301. So we're not really going to have a major tax change, assuming that this money is going into a pre-tax 401k. So I'm of the mindset that we take a little bit from retirement because you did a great job. You're 43 and you're basically right where you need to be. Let's take a little time off from that and build what is currently your biggest concern, is having that emergency fund built up to 6 months or greater. Now, if in the meantime, while we're building this up, by the way, it's, what is it, 30, he's got 31,000 liquid assets. We need another 30,000, right, to get to 6 months or just over 6 months. So we're not talking like this is going to take years to get to that point. Well, in the meantime, let's slow down retirement a little bit, which is no advisor is going to tell you that. They want you putting money into the accounts that they make money on, right? I mean, hello, that's what you would do. Well, in this case, it's better for the client as a wealth manager, not a retirement advisor, to go tell them to do this. And in the meantime, if you're really nervous that something could happen, well, what do we have available to us? We have a line of credit that we could use against our house, but that is the last resort. We just want it open and ready to go while things look really good. If you can trust yourself not to spend that on a pool or something, right? I can't solve for that. But if that's the case, then fine. So here we have how someone who wants to rebuild their emergency fund. How do we rebuild the emergency fund? Well, we go solve for your life. We got to see your life. This is what I love about this is I can see everything and go, hey, look, you killed it over here. Let's just stop that for a second. Let's bring it down, right? You don't have to do this. How else can you, if you're watching this and you go, I don't have the DOE score, first of all, jazzwealth.com. Hope you check us out. But how can you do this? You got to look at your life first and go, I'm on track in this one area of my life. Retirement in this case. What can I do to solve for where I feel there's a bit of a weakness there? I'm also going to say that this client maybe goes back to their budget and let's just see if there's some slosh there. You know what I mean? Like if you enjoy budgeting and stuff, I'm going to be kind of elementary about this, but like, do you have a subscription you're just not using? We're talking pennies at this point, but I mean, there's something there. That's a high for a typical client. So it allows me to have an additional touch point or an additional value to add to the client and go, hey, look, if you want help with that, I'll dig through it with you. But I just feel like there's something there and we'll revisit that in the future. So hope that helps you there. Hope you are out there rebuilding your emergency fund or building it if you are. And how are you doing it? If you're just randomly putting money into a savings account, hey, I could actually add to that too. Efficiency score. He's not being very efficient with his money. What's going on here? So he has savings. This happens to be, this savings account, we blur it out so you can't see the client's information. This is at SoFi. This account is at SoFi. You can do better than SoFi. We can add a % onto the 4.5 I think that they pay at the moment. So we could be more efficient with the dollars that he's trying to save and improve in that score area as well. So a little side topic there. All right. That's all I got. Just thought that was cool. Wanted to share with you. I hope it helped you in some way. Hope it motivates you to go out and do right by your dough. We like to joke around here and say, get your dough straight. How do you get your dough straight if you don't know what's going on with your dough? That's jazzwealth.com. 36th best advisor in the United States, according to USA Today. And I thank you for watching. Have a great rest of your night. Introducing the DOE score.